Here we are again,
Yes.
talking about consciousness, consciousness development, spirituality, the map of spirituality, the levels of consciousness. And I have to say, I'm very excited to um, get to know about your point of view of what is consciousness in your experiences, in your experience. And I'm sure many more people are also interested in that. So, Paul, can you give us some clarification on that?
Yeah, consciousness. It's a great question because I think it's also, if you would ask around, you wouldn't really get uh, a very uh, let's say universal answer from people, and that's that's quite intriguing. I think like maybe the more um, commonly held view is that consciousness is yeah, a way uh, uh, of of as a human, how you uh, yeah, maybe live or view the world, and if you are, yeah, let's say how certain you are of it, or how well explained is it. So these are aspects, um, explaining your life, or explaining the life in general. Um, but I have a broader view, consciousness, that it's like the underlying, um, yeah, you could say, fabric of uh, yeah, of life, and that life in itself is a conscious manifestation, and life came to be because yeah, life is conscious, and that's that's really fascinating, because then you see that all uh, yeah, let's say all of creation is like comes to life and is guided by the same underlying force, uh, and that's that's a big thing. And um, yeah, that's another point of view, that everything connects to each other, everything uh, uh, is one. That's also like, if you look at the world, uh, and your own world, um, it's like um, the quantum view of the world, of reality, and every aspect of your life, of life, is um, yeah, let's say, a manifestation of your consciousness, and um, that makes consciousness so incredible, and yeah, I guess that's also a bit ungraspable for most people if you haven't experienced the shift in consciousness. Um, yeah, can you relate to this, Goran?
Yeah, many things that you said I can relate to them, and at most I would say that it's definitely not that easily understandable what is consciousness and graspable, as it is so much. And I think we want to find out what is it and look for ways how we could understand it or better experience it. And I'm trying to find ways. And when we talk about consciousness, we realize that there is higher consciousness and lower consciousness. And I think that can be a way how we can understand it, actually, when we maybe notice it at ourselves. You said that's one way. When there are shifts, well, then I'm also sure then that you then realize that okay, there is something going on. And as I said, I think if you go from that way that you look at what is maybe lower consciousness, what is higher,
Yeah.
you can come to some answers. Can you maybe give there some clarification? What would be like lower consciousness or lower
Yeah.
consciousness behavior and higher consciousness?
Yeah. I think that's a good question and a good approach. Um, yeah. If you, I think you could, if you view your life from perspective of consciousness, you could, if you want, you could put it in two categories, like life affirming and life denying, you could say. And the lower consciousness is when you uh, basically the deny creation, the creation of life, and you life basically life shrinks. You're not in line with growth, with creation, with positivity. And so the other one is the life affirming one, is when you are uh, in line with I would say with the creative process, and when you dare to take action, to be positive, to um, to basically to make something out of life. And that's tied to many different experiences and thoughts and emotions. Um, yeah,
Mm-mm. Yeah,
and
that's
yeah, I would say, like, if you look at it from a perspective of emotions, yeah, then emotions such as fear, that is, you could say it's a negative quality. So it's basically life denying. If you keep living in fear, life is not um, going to assist you to grow, to be in line with nature. And if you face your fears, and if you come with higher emotions such as courage or other states, accepting of what your life story has been, and accepting maybe the troubles instead of putting them away, avoiding them, then you can embrace uh, you can embrace life again. And I think that's a way to look at it. It's relatively simple, and you can expand on it greatly, obviously. But uh, yeah, if you talk about lower consciousness and higher consciousness, this is, I would say, one of the things I could explain it in a more basic way.
that's what I wanted to hear. Very great, really. When it's simple, then that's one of the best ways how you can figure out things. And I think you couldn't more simpler explain it than when you divide it, like, yeah, actually in negative and positive things. So that's definitely a good approach, how you can figure out, lower consciousness and higher consciousness.
Yes.
So you mentioned emotions and fear and these negative realms that you obviously should overcome. So we're talking here already about overcoming something so that it can get better. So
yes,
we can say that will be already the consciousness development, right?
yeah.
Well, what also interests me, in simple terms, how can you do consciousness development how can you build it in your life? What is a good approach to that?
Yeah, that's it's a fascinating question because of course there are many approaches, and I think it's really about instead of like always looking sort of outside for outside of yourself for example how your parents live or how your friends live or how society lives, what the norms are, you can go back, take a moment for yourself and question, okay, are these norms uh, or these values or these patterns uh, the same as I would like to have, as I would like to adopt? And then you can explain, um, yeah, uh, how, for example, um, how was my upbringing, or how do people live uh, with whom I'm in contact with, and do they have a life uh, uh, which is based on maybe the kind of attitude I want to acquire. It's so I think just like self examination is just a big topic, introspection, and of course I have to mention it. That's also why meditation is such an interesting and powerful way of establishing growth, I would say, because when you meditate, you uh, really start to pay attention to, or basically you draw away from the outer world, and you give some space for yourself. And when you practice, you can then come to the realization that maybe first of all your mind has been very busy, and then you can start sorting out your thoughts, and it can take a while, but then you can say, okay, maybe this thought is very helpful for me uh, to get along in life, but the other thought is not so helpful. And then, like even like the process of uh, like becoming aware of which thoughts you have, and then um, selecting which you like and which you don't like, um, is really incredible. And that's a thing. A very big majority of people are not aware that it's possible, I would say, and I think that's one of the first steps in which you can create, or which you can develop your consciousness to to see that all these ideas, all these patterns, all these beliefs, all these emotions, all these thoughts in which you grew up as a kid, as an adolescent, or as an adult, if they have really um, yeah made uh, made how you live, and um, yeah
That's
to
that's a very
to sort them out.
structured
Yeah.
that's a very structured approach, I have to admit.
Yes.
Simple in explanation, but quite elaborated actually. As you started by saying, yeah, you should basically turn inward. So
Yes.
a bit realize, yeah, that actually things are happening internal of you, like yeah, your thoughts, and stuff is going outside. And I would also definitely agree that if you imitate other people, what they are doing, it's an endless approach. You will hardly find the answers.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
then you start to imitate their life, and that's
yeah,
uh,
a never
well,
ending story.
and that's basically how everyone grows up. Uh,
Yeah,
if you have grown up with two parents, for example, you imitate
yeah,
your
yeah.
parents, but that's part of growing up. But then you come to realize it's not just your parents, but there are way bigger systems which all have their own, let's say, set of uh, yeah, set of patterns, you could say, and to keep coming back of uh, uh, what it is and what you think about it, or how you feel about it. That's a big one. And I can take it an extra step further, and that's yeah, when you meditate a bit more, then you can uh, maybe absorb more thoughts, and then can also come to the realization that um, you're not, or you're not your thoughts. You're not sort of your brain, which is an endlessly running process of your own thoughts. No, behind your thoughts there is something more, something else, something
Yeah,
something deeper, and you could
something
first
realer.
of all first of all something most people would identify as something like your intuition. And that's like an inner power, an inner knowing, which lies behind your everyday thoughts. And when you give this strength, yeah, it's really grows your consciousness, and you start to see, uh, if you develop it, that uh, a lot of people live out of touch with their intuition, and it has great strength to be in touch with your intuition.
Mm.
And yeah, um, that's I would say a next step, and it goes in all kinds of directions. So it's like a never-ending story, but it's also a great uh, uh, great power if you basically, maybe if you're lost contact with your intuition, to rediscover it, and then can yeah, I can become conscious of which areas in your life are maybe helpful, life affirming, or will give you a good feeling, which are areas do not give you such a good feeling, and then you can reflect, and then maybe you can change some behaviors, change some patterns, change some habits, maybe. And yeah, that's very fascinating process.
Yes. You mentioned intuition. We always hear also from the society and from everybody, follow your intuition. But nobody seemingly
Do we?
really
Do we?
do we? Yeah. Is it what we do? People don't really, a lot of people don't realize what is intuition and why should they follow the intuition, even though everybody says it. But yeah, we get the input from the outside. Are we capable of realizing it and also bringing it into our life and to see the value of it? That's, I think, also a big question. I find it good that through meditation, yeah, you can dive deeper into all of that. As you slow down the thoughts, and when you slow down the thoughts and bring them to a minimum, and yeah, that's then the point where the intuition starts. And
Yes.
yeah, where you can be where you can also start to trust the intuition, and where you don't have to overthink too much. That's a big value.
Yes. To get out of your head. That's
yeah, that's a good approach. As I asked, how can you develop your consciousness? Yeah, by turning inward, meditating, realizing you're not your thoughts, following your intuition. Is there more? How can you even go deeper or broader? What can you do more?
yeah, there's a lot more. And um, yeah, say what would be the next step? Um,
Or maybe
one thing,
to be on the
yeah,
same level. Maybe we do not have to go too much deeper for
yeah.
now, but
Well, yeah. Well, I think
what
also
about
when you,
emotions?
yeah, well, when you realize that you are not your thoughts, with that comes like maybe even a sort of a realization of then, okay, but I have a brain, and I also always identified with my brain, but maybe you could come to the realization uh, that the whole of your being is uh, one organism, and it's not just your brain. And we also have a body, and we have a heart, and you could say that the heart is the center of your feelings. And yeah, when you tap more into your feelings, and of course a lot of different people are there, a lot of different experiences. Some people are more heart focused, some more head focused, but I guess when you start to listen more to or feel more into your heart, that's um, yeah, that's a big one. And then you can also realize uh, yeah, that if you go back again to feelings, that you can be fearful, but you can also be if you listen to your heart, uh, you don't act out of fear, but because the voice of the heart is more the voice of love, I would say. And
Mm.
that's um, yeah, that's another thing that becomes apparent, I would say.
Mm. Yeah, you mentioned some apparent things. I would say for spiritual people, apparent things, because when I like to, perceive things, perceive people, many things. And what I perceive in the usual conversations with many people, for me, it seems like nobody is really asking, am I my thoughts? Am I my body? Am I the emotions? There is not even the question, actually. So it seems to me like nobody bothers really to ask, who am I? What am I? Uh, because, yeah,
Well,
because,
sometimes they do, but it's
yeah,
that's already quite an advanced level, yeah, to be bothered with that
yeah,
question, yeah.
I would also say it's already advanced that you come into the situation um, where you're actually able to start to ask these questions. Because if I imagine
Hmm.
someone, let's say, who is busy with family, with earning money, but really not earning money to, get rich, but to survive, to pay the bills, to bring the kids to school and stuff. When do you actually find the time to get off and take 1 hour a day to meditate and to ask some deep questions? So I think that's already an issue to have your circumstances in that way that you're able to ask these questions, and then you have to ask this question, and then you have to find some
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, it's if you're just like in the rhythm of let's say working, sleeping, and whatever family life or social life, um, or entertainment, uh, yeah, you can fill up your whole life with that without ever bothering to uh, ask these questions. But well, you could always think like maybe the work you're doing, is it really something you like, or could there be something better? And then what really fits uh, your nature? Um, yeah, that's also one of the questions of yeah, I would say self-inquiry, and it's yeah, not necessarily tied to meditation, but I think it's quite common if you have to, for example, choose job or choose uh, yeah, choose activities you want to do. There has to be some kind of uh, uh, yeah, has to be something that gets you there or that gets you away from it.
Hmm. Okay, okay. And if somebody, let's say, is not there, but listens to what we say and asks himself, okay, for me it seems there is value in that. How can I start? Where should I start? How can I start with consciousness development in an, let's say, in an easy way at the beginning? Yeah.
Mm, well, yeah, I guess um, um, becoming uh, becoming aware that you uh, uh, that your life is, uh, let's say, your own, uh, let's say, your own creation, and if you want to change something, uh, if you want to develop your consciousness, then um, you can, uh, yeah, I would say, start asking yourself questions. What do
Yeah.
you like currently in your life? What do you like currently in your job? And maybe what don't you like?
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah, that's good actually. Maybe
it's really
find
about
some,
like creating time for yourself. Yeah.
yeah, maybe find some, yeah, things that you, where you see potential in it that you can improve. And yeah, you can actually meditate on it and see how things unfold. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that.
and that's also like giving yourself the time uh, to give basically like me time, and then not to just doze off and I don't know, watch TV or watch social media, but actually making the effort to ask yourself questions of uh,
Yeah,
uh, what's going on. Yeah,
yeah, and
that's
find out at the end that we are not our thoughts and not our emotions and not our body, and that's where you then a bit more spiritual, let's say. And for the people who are already there and want to go deeper, how do they approach consciousness development?
yeah, yeah. When you go higher, or want to go higher, um, for example, when you meditate and you have some results, uh, uh, you become a bit more quiet. But then, uh, yeah, I would say um, you're maybe not on your own making so much such a fast developments anymore. Then uh, I guess what's uh, what's very helpful then is to basically get a mirror and you can practice in your own mirror, see how you're talking, how you're uh, behaving. That can be very uh, very helpful to see,
Yeah.
maybe even revealing. But you could also, yeah, uh, go and talk to someone uh, who's maybe on the spiritual path for some time and who has uh, gone through some developments already and who has become sharper and more aware and more conscious, I would say, of yeah, of um, uh, basically how consciousness works and how um, sort of life uh, treats you. And then when you talk to someone like this or whatever, you can get, yeah, you can get feedback of what could be an interesting area for growth. And it's yeah, I think, you can use many ways uh, um, to go there. If you can, for example, very sharply see, um, yeah, what someone's emotional state is, or what someone's body language is, or what someone's yeah, or basically where someone's thoughts lead someone to, or which belief someone has. Uh, those are all very big topics, and it takes uh, time and attention to uh, let's say to work on those. And it's yeah, this is one way
Mm.
uh, that's helpful. There are also other ways possible, of course. How do you view this?
Yeah, you're basically talking about a teacher, or at least someone who
Yeah,
is more experienced in these realms.
yeah,
When I look at different topics, or yeah, where people want to develop, like maybe in sports, in football or in tennis, you also take a teacher when you want to improve and when you want to develop. So
yeah.
or in business, mental coach or whatever. So that's definitely, I would say, one of the best ways how you can develop consciousness. Definitely, maybe a bit, yeah. How to say, it's not always like possible to have a teacher in front of you, but when you have the opportunity, you can obviously use it, um, and get some profound answers. Definitely. You also mentioned that there are many other ways. In the last episode, we talked about the levels of consciousness and the map of spirituality. I think this is also a great tool. One of, yeah, for me personal, one of the best also tools how to approach consciousness development. And I think we could also go more into the levels of consciousness. And we talked the last time also, I think, about the three categories. And yeah, we could talk about that a bit more in detail. So people can also use it for their personal development, and don't need a teacher always by your side when you have that.
Or not right away, or not. There are many ways to inform yourself and to work on yourself, and it's this this way, this system of the levels of consciousness has an incredible strength to it, and if you dive into it, it gives I would say it gives you also great power for your own journey of becoming more conscious. That it's actually that basically that life or that consciousness, and which includes thoughts and emotions, can be they can be organized into a map in a system. So if you want to grow in life, in consciousness, then this map is very very effective. And you have to treat categories, and all have different states in them, and creating more awareness, a more conscious look at what all these states are is very helpful to I would say to examine your life. And yeah, we could discuss them. So the first category, the lowest category, is as I said earlier, like where life contracts. It's like the negative category, where you either feel a victim or when you are an abuser. And that's where those kind of states, those kind of levels of consciousness are not giving you power. And then the second category is the category of self-empowerment. And when you're in these states, you're life affirming, and you do give yourself power. And to just repeat shortly, the third category is of self-realization, where you actually go into the higher realms and really go on the journey of self discovery and self-actualization, and things go all the way up to to the highest states. Mm, yeah, so the maybe it's just cool or informative to talk about the the, the lower levels and uh, how they affect your life, because I think um, it's even quite unknown that, for example, um, there is such thing as when you had like certain life experiences, such as experiencing fear or experiencing other things, maybe shame or guilt, um, when you grew up, and this is basically very common. I would say almost everyone has it. Then as a child, you don't necessarily know so well uh, how to deal with it. You can't give an adult
Mm.
response. So all the things you experienced, yeah, maybe not all of those things you were able to handle, to process, and they have become patterns, and you're still carrying those patterns and those unprocessed emotions, and yeah, that's pretty big. I mean, uh, there's like an interlaps with psychology, of course, but I think a lot of when a lot of people think about psychology, you say, okay, you only need to go to a psychologist when you're really in sort of when you have serious problems.
Yeah.
But uh, actually, uh, becoming psychologically mature or psychologically aware, that requires a lot of introspection and a lot of, I would say, work on yourself. uh, uh, and yeah, that's also creating awareness of how you have lived, and how how healthy those patterns were. Were they uh, yeah, were they empowering? Were they affirmative, or maybe uh, uh, patterns are there which are not not so well for you? And yeah, um,
Yeah, I like
it's
that you
it's a
pointed
big
that
topic.
out.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, exactly like that, that people, when things start to get really troublesome and maybe it gets like suicidal even, and then people, even then people, some people choose the suicide instead of going for a therapy or whatever. But it's usually at that time when one realizes, oh, he needs some changes in some way, help, or he needs to do something different. And before that, everybody does like, oh, there is nothing, everything is fine, everything is all the time fine.
Yes,
And
always fine.
it's always, maybe one time with your
Even
trigger.
though like you're for example complaining all day long, no, it's always fine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all the
yeah,
other people's fault. It's like the government's fault. It's society's fault. But
yes.
I am fine, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely like that. And there we reach a point where we have to be honest with ourselves, obviously, and to admit what is true and what is not true. And it's not, that is something we don't have to be ashamed for when we, yeah, have some emotions that are not pleasurable, that we suppress, that we would like to have them different, and we don't need to wait until it gets that critical, that where we yeah, where we're totally stressed out and maybe get a burnout or whatever. But
Hmm.
to be aware that stuff is going on and that we have the power to change it and to improve our emotional states, our health, and everything that we actually want. And yeah,
Yes.
I think the first category is yeah, especially specialized in that region of the negative emotions, and how you can turn them around into positive ones. And yeah, we know that the first category goes from 0 to 200. The whole map goes from 0 to 1000, and
Yes.
from
And
200 on, that starts the positive category.
yeah, if I can
Yeah.
just check in with you, you made an interesting comment. You said like, yeah, there are different emotions, different states, and then you become aware that you can basically turn your emotions around and basically, um, yeah, sort of decide which emotions you want to have. I think this is quite a mind-boggling concept for
Yes.
still
Yes.
quite a few people. That it's just like, yeah, okay, I have my emotions and this is who I am. Um, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
how it works, right?
Yeah, yeah, like the angry people. Yeah, he's an angry guy. Like he's like that.
Yeah,
He was born like that. He will die like that. No.
yeah. Or he had an upbringing, and now he's just basically destined to be an angry person. Yeah,
Yeah. No. Yeah, as you said. Yeah, that's already something. Yeah, where, how you said, where the people are mind boggled. As it seems like, yeah, it's the reality, but there again, when you work a bit on your consciousness and look at the things how they are, then you may realize that you actually have control over emotions. And yeah, that's very powerful, this realization and this insight.
yes,
But
it's
then
super
again,
powerful, and that's um, that's when you become aware that they are, it's like the greater strength that uh, with which you can navigate your life. And if you have yeah, for example, unprocessed emotions, then it will keep basically uh, return or govern your life with all these lower emotional states, with all kinds of scenarios, uh, which yeah, which could be better if you actually process them and then um, get more opportunities to live a lighter, more beautiful life. Yeah.
yeah, how can one process its emotions and turn them around? And first, what is an emotion? So that's
Yes. It's an abbreviation, right, of energy in motion.
okay.
And yeah, so an emotion is uh, when we experience a certain energy, which, let's say, which moves us and which does something with us, and we feel a certain way. And that's uh, and that's what gets us moving around, and can be in a low way or in a high way. But emotions are there, and I think this is also a very uh, big one. A lot of people think about their emotions. So, okay, yeah, I experienced this and that, and now I think I'm more an adult, and I can look from it from a different perspective, and that's that makes me behave differently, and that basically solve the problems. That's a bit of the let's say more psychological kind of way of approaching it. But if you look at it from a more holistic kind of view, is that emotions affect uh, our whole being, and uh, just thinking about them is not going to yeah or yeah that's not really experiencing them. It's your feeling uh, that that moves the emotions. So getting in touch with your feelings, uh, that's basically the way to experience emotions. And if you have a lot of let's say had a lot of experiences with lower emotions, you need to do a lot of practice to reconnect with your feeling. And one way to do that is well, yeah, also with meditation, but also, for example, going out of your comfort zone and going in new kind of experiences where you develop your emotional awareness. Um, yeah, uh, um, it's pretty big because it can, like, how do you know when you are, for example, like emotionally mature, or if you processed your emotions of the past? how would you answer that question, Goran?
um, yeah, I think one should not be too foolish to assume very soon that you're emotionally aware just because you maybe heard a podcast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it definitely brings you, um, you would realize that you're emotionally aware when you obviously deal a bit with that topic at the beginning. Yeah, you can listen to podcasts and read some books and get some first insights. But as you said, if it happens only on the psychological dimension, then you miss the actually greater part, which is the feeling. And when you start to really connect more with the emotions and really feel them and have it clearer in your consciousness, then that's actually the beginning, I would say, where you build a bit more of emotional awareness. And yeah, when you finally then are aware a bit of that and can look back, how was your emotional state, maybe, yeah, maybe the last years, or approximately, like how would you say it? How was the emotional state maybe the last few months or weeks, or even how was it last day, or how is it this? How is
Yes.
it right
Did you
now?
laugh? Yes. Or are you happy? Or
Yeah,
yeah. Or there
yeah,
can be many things, of course, in a greater complexity, but really reflecting on what's going on, if it's today or this week or a longer period. Yeah, that's, I think, a great uh, way of maturing, and requires well, also, again, self reflection, self honesty, introspection. Which can you say, yeah, like, it's fine, and I'm okay, and life is fine. Is that when you are emotionally mature, or yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Being honest, obviously. If you're not honest, if you're saying it's
Yes.
fine, but actually it's not fine, then it gets really hard. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So honesty is a big component in that part. And to keep it simple, I think a good way is also to actually just look at the emotion when you can clearly see it. Does it feel positive or negative? I think that's a good way. If you're
Yes.
just sure that it doesn't feel good, then okay, there is room for improvement actually, and
Yeah.
you can use some methods like meditation or emotional inquiry or whatever, and see how did it change for you. Maybe a specific situation actually, like maybe you're not happy with, let's say, behavior of somebody or a specific situation, and you
Yeah.
work on it and find out that it actually got better. So you notice that it obviously works, and you can do that some many more times, and then realize that there is something going on. There are negative emotions that it can be turned into positive emotions, and one day you may realize that it got you had actually a big amount of your life which you experienced negatively, and now it changed and you experience it positively. And I think
Yeah.
when you see that, then you reach a point of emotional awareness which can still be worked on.
Yeah. And that's like, yeah. It's like a simple question of like, how was your day, or how do you feel right now? If it's positive, then it's good. But if you're, yeah, it's not so positive, you can start reflecting on it. So what's not positive, or it's with specific relationship or with multiple relationships. Yeah, many many avenues to go, and that's that's the strength of or yeah, maybe the strength or uh, the fascinating thing when you dive into this topic. Yeah.
I would really point out at this point that it's actually very hard. As we are talking right now, it seems quite easy, but to get
Yes, like yeah, you deserve to do this and that, but it can take many years
yeah,
uh, to become aware of the patterns you lived in, and to maybe yeah, to reflect on it, and maybe the deeper uh, belief structures and how they influenced your behaviors and your actions and your life choices. Uh, it's a complex story. It can take many years of introspection and work to come to terms, I would say.
yes. Is it hard to bench 100 kilograms?
Well, for me, it is, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I look at it the same way actually. It's hard, but someone who trains for a long time, he would say, "What, 100 kilograms?" He just does it instantly, and he doesn't maybe even feel it. Like it's very easy. And I think with the emotional process, it's the same. At the beginning,
Yeah,
definitely harder
it
to be honest,
well,
to see it, to
well,
put all
yeah,
the work
and
in.
also I think you could. It's also a nice metaphor to look at it as a muscle you can train.
Yeah.
Um, that um, I think it's also like an endless scale. You can become more and more emotionally mature, more and more emotionally intelligent. Um, you can use it for a million different things to make life better, and that's also one of the things I'm now, uh, yeah, I would say, um, venturing into a bit. Like, just for example, having this emotional strength or awareness, um, that's, for example, cultivating your assertiveness and your courage to, when you see something, you don't just doubt or shy away from it, but actually have the courage to take action, and then it can lead to all kinds of events, and that's just one way of becoming, of developing yourself emotionally. Yeah.
Yes. I again have to say that it's not only yeah, hard in experience, but actually yeah, quite um, complex. Actually, I would say, especially if you are in the, let's say, in the lower realm, in the first category of the levels of consciousness, victim and abuser consciousness. There you probably would have a hard time if you start right away working on emotions. It's possible, definitely, but are there maybe easier approaches in this first category to still, get higher in consciousness and feel better and experience life a bit easier?
Yeah, well, I think it definitely depends per person, like what's your life situation. Um, and There can also be like life events which have thrown you in a lower level. Um, uh, and I think when that has happened, um, yeah, you need to start uh, basically, um, yeah, start looking at those life events, what they
Mm.
meant for you, and process them. But another approach mm,
What I mean
is,
is, being aware of the emotions is, uh, yeah, you have to put quite some work in it, I would say, to be
yeah,
aware of them. Before that, maybe I would say just realizing that, or admitting that maybe some things are not the way how they are. Like, as you said earlier, if you're convinced that, yeah, everything is great, so wonderful, but actually maybe you complained a lot the whole day, maybe a good approach would be to, yeah, to look for things that make you not happy in any way. Yeah, like you're not happy with, maybe, I don't know, something in the work with your boss or a colleague or a situation. Just maybe realizing that um, something is not going the way, actually the way like I wanted, or maybe something is going the way that I wanted. I believe that, and maybe to question it, not to be pessimistic, but to simply ask, am I really satisfied with what is going on, or is there actually something behind it? Yeah, something like that.
yeah, like look for alternatives, and if you're um, yeah, maybe, let's say, maybe these are a bit cliches, but if you're not happy with your job, look for another job. And maybe for
Mm,
some people it's very difficult, but no, there are always opportunities. Um, and also, if you're maybe not happy with, well, whatever, how you, for example, treat your free time, or how you, uh, uh, yeah, can be many things, but um, or what kind of activities you do, um, or want to do. Yeah, it's uh, there's always like a power inside of you,
mm,
which maybe if you're running on the automatic pilot, that's
mm,
actually also one other term which comes with the system of the levels of consciousness. Like if you're in the river of life, just like flowing in these patterns, uh, which which basically happen to come into your life by the way you have grown up, or by the way, yes, uh, uh, your work made you do it, or your environment made you do it. That's how most people live, just um, as a as sort of a not as a sort of a conscious sovereign being, but um, yeah, just playing out the circumstances in which they are, but
Mm.
actually rising above the circumstances and realizing that there's greater power in you, that you can step out of the circumstances. That's I think an incredible um, uh, way of yeah, of improving and of becoming more conscious.
Mm. Becoming more conscious and yeah, feeling better. And when we look at the map of spirituality, from the lower realm, getting into a higher realm, or in this case, in the higher category of self-empowerment, what changes for oneself when he, escapes the dominated negative realm of victim abuse consciousness into the self-empowerment consciousness? What changes there for a person? Is
Mm,
there I mean, there is a shift, yeah, I would say, yeah.
yeah, I think there's again, you have this way of saying that, yeah, like you can look at life as like a big struggle, or a big, um, uh, yeah. For example, if you look at the news, there's so much negativity, so much uh, troubles. It's quite easily to fall in this trap of that life is uh, not really there to be uh, uh, sort of enjoyed, or something that's positive, but mainly the struggle. And then I think when you stop in self-empowerment, you can just, yeah, maybe not spend so much time uh, filling yourself with negativity, for example, all the negativity from the news, but really creating your own script, your own um, things that make you happy. And then when you start looking for those things, then uh, yeah, you can see it actually works, and you can see if that uh, maybe if one good thing happened, another good thing happens, and it can have like uh, a bit of a rolling effect that gets you stronger and stronger, as with training muscles in the gym.
Yeah,
If you do it 1 week, you feel better. But if you do it 1 month or a year, you'll feel yeah, a whole lot healthier and better.
yeah. So yeah, you start to feel better um, while working on your consciousness, developing it. Um, yeah, the second category goes from 200 to 400.
Yes.
Um, it's the more positive realm. How is it different from the, let's say, how is 201 different from 399?
Hmm. Well, first of all, it's a big, there's quite a few points in between them.
Yeah.
So it's quite different. And yeah, so just above 200 is just above positivity and courage. It's basically just when you have the the energy, the consciousness, the power to make changes, and that's empowering, um, to basically actually experience that you can make changes, that you're not, uh, for example, a victim of your circumstances, but the change is possible. So that's amazing. And then go higher and see. We also have these higher, uh, 300 levels, such as acceptance and inner will, um, and um, and then going to rationality, 400. That's I think 300 is very different from 200 because you become aware that life is yeah, something that's going on, and you, in order to move forward, you need to like accept what has happened, and this power of acceptance that has an incredible strength to it, to not anymore play the victim or to hide or uh, to just basically change it, but actually accept what is
Yeah.
happening to you, and then respond to it. That's uh, yeah, that's very uh, that's a different approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Like, yeah, not hiding anymore. Like, yeah. Mm. So you're starting to feeling better and better while climbing up the scale. That's
Yes.
that's one thing that comes with it. What comes else with it when you climb up the scale? Like, what changes in your consciousness, in your awareness?
Yeah. Well, I guess also if you talk about acceptance, it's also about accepting your yeah, again, like your emotional states, that they have always uh, um, how you responded emotionally has always been uh, like an element that has made your life experience. And if you now can accept that uh, certain emotions just uh, play out um, under certain circumstances, you can then accept them, feel them, and let them go, and no longer drag them along. And when you do that, then suddenly, for example, the interactions you have with people become also more lighter and more real, more authentic, and deeper. If you yeah, can show more of your emotional um, yeah, state of being without hiding, without avoiding.
Yeah, that sounds already great. Already lighter, better, and worth
Yes.
of uh, inquiring already.
Yeah.
How can it be even better if you surpass the second category of self-empowerment and reach self-realization? What comes then?
Yes. Then it's the start of a whole new uh, chapter, I would say, life life trajectory, and then you've had this acceptance, and then there's this sort of deeper realization that you as a person have, let's say, you have certain characteristics, and you have a certain blueprint, and in order to live your best life, you um, can you can dive into this blueprint and yeah, uh, uh, fill your life with ever more positive things, with ever more um, yeah, joyful, loving, harmonious things, and that takes effort, but sort of actually realizing that that this strength lies inside you is an amazing yeah, realization, and that's where it starts. Mm,
Yeah, last time we mentioned that's where the spiritual awakening actually starts.
yes, yeah,
The
and
spirit.
yeah, this whole spiritual thing. Uh, yeah, if you look at it from that perspective, you also switch to yeah, let's say to the view that um, that life is uh, yeah, not just something that happens to you, not just something that's which you can bend a bit here more or there more, but actually that it's a creation uh, of a higher force, of a divine force, and then okay, you've you've opened up to this realization that it's not just physical world, but a divine world, and then yeah, you can start to associate with divine qualities and look at the perspective of life from the perspective of divinity, and everything has a deeper meaning. Everything has has qualities in them which you can appreciate. You can actually also appreciate your own struggle, which has learned you certain lessons. Um, yeah, it's um, then it's the sort of the quest to uh, yeah, keep letting go of everything that bothers you, everything that that's not something that makes your life uh, beautiful, that makes your life uh, uh, yeah, like anything lower than these divine qualities.
Mm.
Is there something that you would um, uh, I don't know, associate it with directly or want to fill in?
Hmm. You're very precise, and yeah, I'd like to add maybe some things. Well, up to that point, you, I would say, have worked a lot already on yourself, on many sides, on your personality, on the emotions, on thoughts. You're already quite familiar with many things, at least the things that are very apparent. Um, yeah, in your consciousness, you have worked on them, and now, then I would say it already feels a lot lighter to you, and um, on the surface level, I would say there is then not so much you can work on. Maybe, yeah, still some things pop out, but I think um, everything gets deeper, everything gets a deeper meaning, and that's where then, yeah, actually you start to trust something that you have not trusted before too much. Yeah, something you start to trust something higher. And that's
Yes.
actually that what we talked about just earlier, the intuition. And that's why it's also so valuable, as the intuition
Uh-huh.
seems so how do you say it's easy actually to read a book and then kind of refer to it and say, yeah, the book says it, so it must be true. But it's more profound and truer if you listen to your intuition, what it says, as this is what yourself tells you, this is true, and it's only possible through your intuition. So that's one important aspect for me. Like, yeah, the intuition starts, and trust your intuition in that state. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
And
look where it guides your intuition, and it's so much
yeah.
easier when you don't have to actually remember, yeah, oh wait, what have I learned all my life, what have I learned in school from my parents, so that I can use it in a given moment. No, why don't you just be in the moment and trust what feels right to you? Isn't it much easier?
Yeah, and that actually interlaps nicely with like the second uh, level in the category of self-realization, namely the level of the higher wisdom and yeah, the higher self, and that's really uh, yeah, that's us, but uh, the state of us that is uh, in contact with our intuition, the state of us that has an overview of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and what how our body is behaving and feeling. And yeah, when you have this overview, uh, you you tap into literally a higher wisdom, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's when life becomes more smooth, and also yeah, that's you can read a book about a certain thing, but actually trusting your higher wisdom gives you uh, yeah, it's like an eternal state and eternal power you can access if you're at that level, um, which uh, which also like very obviously will make life more more smooth, more beautiful. If you're always aware of of what you're thinking, then you can uh, then you can have overview. Then you can have more uh, more capacity to uh, choose wisely and choose choose the things that make you happy. And uh, that's that's the power of intuition. Also, I would say that
Mm.
you go beyond uh, those first layers into something deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, into something deeper, you're saying. As I always like to say, let's go deeper. Where does it lead to?
uh,
So you go
deeper down the
deeper.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, you listen to your intuition, and where does it lead your intuition? Where?
Yeah, it's. I guess it takes you in the direction of greater, uh, um, of greater life, and also a smoother life. Like yeah, it can be it's interactions of people. If you suddenly uh, notice more or see more, feel more, or become aware that when you say a certain thing, you get this reaction, but if you say another thing, you get a more positive reaction. Um, yeah, then why not go for the more positive one? And create more harmonious interactions.
Mm.
And yeah, it's life has many possibilities. Everyone is different, but I think the underlying point is that uh, there's this greater power which was before this stage always um, well to a greater or lesser extent uh, covered, and now when you uncover it, um, you see that life is really empowered by uh, by divine source of which creates uh, um, yeah, everything. That's a pretty yeah maybe uh, profound way of describing it, but I think you can sense into that in that feeling that uh, yeah just sensing in all kinds of situations that you can trust your intuition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you mentioned earlier that it's important to, yeah, look a bit behind what is happening, to question maybe some things and to start um, realizing some things like your thought patterns, your emotions, um, several patterns and stuff. And yeah, you do that and um, get to know more things. You read about a lot of things. You work on your emotions. You realize um, you get your spiritual awakening and stuff, and you realize even more. And slowly, you start to listen to your intuitions. So you even go a bit away from reading too much or getting too much input from the outside, but to listen actually
Mm-hmm.
more to yourself, and you listen and listen more to yourself, and um, it's it leads you then actually. I ask where does it lead you, and it leads you to um, to this higher wisdom, and with this higher wisdom you then realize something even higher than wisdom itself. And this is then the next stage of self-realization, which is the inner love. So you
Yes.
realize love actually. And what is it then different from wisdom, from only gaining a lot of the, wisdom to actually loving? Where do you see there the difference?
Yeah, so that's indeed like the next step on the on the map on the system of the levels of consciousness. Go from wisdom to love, and yeah, I think if you uh, uh, yeah basically uh, see and become aware that every uh, everything is empowered uh, by this greater force, and it's not just a force which is very, let's say, abstract, but it's the force of love actually. And uh, then you can see what makes you happy, uh, makes you what fills up your life, what makes life worth living. It's uh, yeah the power of love, and it's in every domain. So not just romantic love, but actually, uh, yeah, you can love everything. and you can also become aware that uh, uh, yeah, how you lived, why don't you love, or yeah, uh, what's something that you can let go. Um, I think, yeah, basically there's a nice saying uh, I remember, and goes like, uh, uh, the love we hold back is the pain we suffer.
Uh, yeah,
And
that's a good
yeah,
one.
it's any area in your life in which you're basically uh, suffering, that means you haven't given it enough love yet. And either in the past or in the present, yeah, it's just everything can be cured with the power of love. And uh, it's quite a big realization that you can mold everything, and yeah, it can require some work, but to actually have this uh, realization and this courage is uh, is amazing.
Yeah, love everything. Literally everything. So not only
Well, yeah.
maybe your work or friends and family and your hobbies and the stuff that you like to do, but actually everything where you put your attention to. So yeah, even thoughts or um, yeah, emotions or physical things or whatever, animals. um, and when you do that, then it says that you even expand your love, expand it to the level of consciousness oneness.
Yeah. So it's, I think it, yeah, really transitioning that it's that love is really something you yourself are responsible for, and you can get it out of yourself. And then when you grow, then at certain points you sort of naturally come to a higher realization of oneness, of unity, that you can share this love, um, yeah, with all of humanity. We're all a divine creation, and with all of nature, the whole of the earth is one divine creation. And if you look at the whole of earth as one divine creation, which is yeah, basically um, there to be cherished, to be loved, that changes your perspective on quite a few things. If you compare it to, let's say, the average person's view.
Mm. To love everything. Wow. How can there be even something greater than loving everything?
You want to go on to the next level?
Okay, how does that look like?
Yeah, it's when you look at the map levels of consciousness, the next level is presence, and that's where uh, I think you come to realize that uh, um, it, it's not just a uh, like an act, or not just something we made up here on Earth, but it's just like the deeper fabric of of life, of creation, and that the whole cosmic, um, uh, yeah, let's say, structure is built up of uh, of love, and to see that, to feel into that, um, uh, to sense into that, you become aware that actually, yeah, there is great harmony in everything, great peace, and uh, peace is the underlying, uh, let's say, um, experience or feeling that's under it, and then you can sense, okay, how peaceful uh, is my life now. How peaceful are my thoughts? Uh, how undisturbed, how empty, and like maybe regardless of the turmoil humanity is in right now, but the deeper aspect is peace, and um, also bliss, to actually experience that. mm, there's this greater, uh, greater quality, uh, that creation is just a divine gift. that's uh, that's that's ultimate, and yeah, bliss is something uh, very uh, very profound. it's I think it's also tied to this, to the highest uh, level you can go into when working on your spiritual development, on your consciousness development, training yourself to get into the state of samadhi. It's quite a well-known, um, yeah, like way of being. It requires a lot of practice, and but it's really the advanced stages, and it's uh, yeah, really where you start to paint your whole life in a way uh, that's absolutely uh, harmonious, and like yeah, maybe with like without distortions, and just in this greater sense of also like the greater qualities, not just love, but also the qualities of love, power, and wisdom. That these qualities uh, make up uh, or govern life. And when you keep following this, keep trusting this, life becomes more and more divine.
Mm. Amazing, actually, amazing. Yes. Who people who are familiar, at least with the term samadhi or bliss, it sounds very magical, to experience such states.
Yes, yes, and just like there are artificial ways to experience bliss or ecstasy, but it's actually
What do you
uh,
mean by artificial?
yes, with, let's say, uh, substances, drugs. Um, yeah, you can sort of have this peak experience, but it's not something that's triggered by the, or that's created by the drugs. It's just uh, that's the underlying quality of life, of which almost everyone is so distracted not to experience it, but just requires a lot of
Oh no. Just waiting a bit for Paul. Hopefully he comes back. So coming back.
Yes.
Well, great discussion today, Paul.
Hmm?
I'm glad we could also dive deeper into the levels of consciousness and discuss it from various perspectives. And we finished at the level of consciousness presence.
Yes.
It was great from my side. Hope you enjoyed it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a bit is still open, like the higher levels of consciousness. We can discuss them another time, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah. And yeah, we could obviously go into more detail or other avenues, but the higher levels are still open as well, even though um, yeah, it's I'm not yet enlightened, so can't share from my experience, but it's good to talk about it too. Yes.
Just to have like a bit information about it, at least even if it's not in the experience, but yeah, you can read about it and get an impression of it. So yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and I would
Okay,
say
great.
see you another time.
Great. See you.
Bye.